Hello, everyone. I'm Bob Schieffer. This is Washington Unplugged. Well, the White House is on the move. President Obama and the First Family met with Pope Benedict XVI in Vatican City, Italy this morning. Now he's on the way to Ghana. We are talking with CBS News senior White House correspondent Bill Plante, who's on the scene at Vatican City for us this morning. Well, Bill, what did the President and the Pope talk about this morning?
Well, you know, we're told what they were likely to talk about, but we don't know exactly yet. We may get a readout later. After all, every president since Dwight Eisenhower has come here to visit with the Pope, not least because there are 67 million Catholics now in the United States. And by the way, a lot of those Catholics voted for this president. So all the usual protocols were observed. I mean, the president and the Pope are meeting as heads of state. The Pope is head of his own little city-state here. And they discussed, we were told that they would discuss a lot of issues that they have in common, the abolition of nuclear weapons, the end to poverty. But the Vatican positions, you know, don't fall into the usual left and right of American politics. The Pope, for example, is for stronger world government. And he just issued an encyclical, a sort of Vatican position paper, calling for much stronger regulation of the financial world. And at the same time, of course, the Pope is opposed to abortion and stem cell research, which Mr. Obama favors. But both the Vatican and the White House said that they were sure that they could discuss these issues, frankly, you know, as both political and moral issues. It was quite a scene that we watched on the television feed. The Pope received the president and then later posed for pictures with the president and First Lady. The staff was introduced. The Catholic members of the staff kissed the Pope's ring. He was with the Pope, I guess, for, about 20, 30 minutes. That's a long time. The Pope is old and not in perfect health. So we're anxious to find out, if they tell us, exactly what was discussed.
All right. Well, one thing we know for sure, next stop is Africa, and he's going to Ghana. Why Ghana, Bill?
Well, Ghana because instead of, say, Kenya, where his father was born, or Nigeria, the biggest regional power there, Ghana because the White House is holding Ghana up as an emblem of democracy. They've had 5 peaceful transfers of power, which, as you know, is something pretty unusual on the African continent. So that's the point that the president wants to make, and he's going to give another of his major speeches, this about developing Africa, about democracy, and basically also saying to them it's up to them to help pull themselves out of this with help from the rest of the world.
And also, we can't leave you, Bill, without bringing up the photo at the G8 conference. People have said in recent years that sometimes these international conferences, the meeting of the G8, are really nothing more than a photo op. But there's one photo that people back here are really talking about today. It's President Sarkozy of France and President Obama, who happened to notice when a young lady sashays by. It's on the front page of a lot of newspapers here in the United States. What was that all about, Bill?
Well, Bob, I'll tell you something. You just said it, and you've been to these things yourself. You know they are dull as dishwater. Very little actually gets accomplished. They're a position taken, and they talk a lot. They don't do much. In fact, the idea of 8 countries sort of controlling the rest of the world is pretty outmoded, as even the president said today. So what we tend to notice are the human moments. And this was certainly a human moment. We don't know exactly what they were doing, but everybody can make up their own mind and have their own reaction just by looking at that picture.
Well, this is one where you, on office bulletin boards all over America, I think there'll be caption writing contests for this little picture that are going to go on for some time because, as you say, it was really a human moment. Bill Plante reporting for us from the Vatican today. This is Washington Unplugged. Joined now by David Rothkopf from the Carnegie Endowment, who argues that July 2009 marks the month that President Obama's honeymoon with the American public is over. David, why are you bringing this bad news to the White House?
Well, look, I mean, you could look at it as good news. I mean, the honeymoon lasted till July. That's a long honeymoon. I don't know how long your honeymoon was, but that's a long time for a honeymoon.
No, it really is.
He's had the benefit of good press coverage from around the world, and he's had the benefit of kind of carrying, riding the crest of the wave of his election for a long time. But now we're getting down into the weeds of a lot of different policy issues. And that tends to, get you beyond personalities and into real hard specifics, often specific issues that have bedeviled people for decades.
Well, and you're saying this as someone who has worked in the White House.
Yeah.
And worked in the Clinton White House.
Worked in the Clinton administration.
The White House of another Democrat, although you were also associated with Henry Kissinger along the way on various projects.
Yeah, no, I'm a centrist, which means I've found ways to offend both sides.
Yeah. Let's go through some of the reasons you say that the honeymoon is over. And you say no matter who is president, Kim Jong-il is still nuts.
Right. And well, I mean, and Kim Jong-il is a problem, and he's also kind of a metaphor. He's there. He's been there for a long time, just like the Arab-Israeli problem has been there for a long time, just like nobody's successfully, brought peace and stability to Afghanistan and Pakistan for, millennia. Mm-hmm. And so, Barack Obama may be a fresh breeze in Washington, but around the world that breeze blows pretty softly.
Another reason you list is kissing up to a president who smokes is like kissing an ashtray.
Well, what I was saying is, there were some stories in the past couple of weeks that showed that the press, even in Washington, was starting to get a little tougher with the president. One of them was that they were getting on his case for smoking. Mm-hmm. And it's just, they didn't pick at him for stuff like that for the past 6-12 months. And now they're starting to. And, I don't think at the White House they should take this as anything, seriously wrong. This is the way it works, and they're settling in.
Do you think the press has been too easy on Obama?
Well, I don't know if it's too easy. They've been easier on, certainly they were easier on him than they were on Bush in his final year. Now, Bush earned the tough time that he got. But, you start being president with all the responsibilities from day one. Mm-hmm. And so this idea of a honeymoon is not really optimal from the perspective of the American people, because the scrutiny needs to start from day one, because the issues are big and the stakes are still high.
But the fact of the matter is, the press, no matter who is president, the press generally gives a president the benefit of the doubt in the early weeks. I remember I was the White House correspondent when Gerald Ford came to the presidency, and I remember we all ran out and ran in, I guess would be the way to say it, and did stories about how he made his own muffins for breakfast, and this went on and on. Then, of course, when he pardoned Nixon, boom,
right. But it's a very similar situation, because Nixon was such a dark cloud over the White House, and the national mood was dragged down. And so when Gerald Ford stepped in, it was a new day. People wanted to embrace the new day. Yeah. And it's worked the same with Reagan and Carter, and it's working the same with Obama and Bush. People were down at the end of the Bush administration, and they wanted something new. And so I think the press was sensing that in their audience.
And do you think that is because the press is partisan, that it likes Democrats more than it likes Republicans? You say, I don't. I think it's just because something new brings a change in press coverage and the way it happens.
Look, I think Fox News was easier on Obama than they will be soon. And I do think people want something new. People are fundamentally optimistic. And for a moment, they want to enjoy the change that they themselves have brought about.
One other reason you list on your list of reasons why the honeymoon is over, you say Hillary's fracture was not the first in the administration.
Well, look, first of all, you got to get everybody in place. This is step one in every administration. Step two in every administration is discovering who doesn't like each other. And, that it's not unique to Obama, but, there are tensions between state and the NSC, or between the NSC and the office of the president, and try as they might to manage those things, history shows those fractures will get worse, and her arm will heal, but they won't.
So what you're saying here is that this is just something that happens. It's not a particularly bad thing. It's just every honeymoon is going to come to an end. The rubber will finally hit the road, and then the president has to deal with the problems that he's been given. Right,
and I think in one sense it's a very good thing, because we do have to move from a campaign mode. We do have to move from the mode where the president is the policy, where being Barack Obama is enough, to starting to get down and to the nuts and bolts of how do you solve the Arab-Israeli issue, or how do you deal with bringing stability to Waziristan, or what can you do about Kim Jong-il? And those things take really down in the dirt, diplomatic slogging, where the president can't do it alone. He needs a team to be out there functioning in a way that they couldn't even have done until now because not everybody was in place.
All right. Thank you very much, David. Finally, this morning, I met a fairly spectacular young person, Zach Bronner. He's a young philanthropist who just finished a 3-month walk from Tampa, Florida to Washington, D.C. to advocate for homeless children. Here's that interview. So in the blink of an eye, we have come from the newsroom to Capitol Hill here in Washington. How do you do that? It's just magic. But I'm with somebody who has taken a little longer to get to Capitol Hill, Zach Bonner. He's 11 years old. He's with us. And you walked here from, where did you start this trip, Zach?
Well, we've done it in 3 different parts. We did Tampa to Tallahassee, then Tallahassee to Atlanta, and then this walk was Atlanta to D.C., but it was all of one project. So.
All of one project. So basically you walked here all the way from Florida. You took it one step at a time. Why are you doing it, Zach?
To raise awareness to homeless youth.
To homelessness?
To youth homelessness, yes.
Youth homelessness. And you're here at the Sasha Bruce project for kids who don't have a place to live, and they come to this place and they provide living for them until they can get themselves on the ground and so forth. How did you come up with this idea of spending so much time trying to help homeless kids?
Well, I had seen a documentary on a woman who was a peace pilgrim, and she had walked over 25,000 miles in her book World Peace. And so I came up with the idea for the walk from her, and I just thought the walk idea was a good idea.
Well, after you started walking, it's a pretty long walk. Did you sometimes think maybe this is not a good idea? This is a little harder than I thought it was.
Well, there were definitely times during the walk where, you do get tired and you don't want to go any further. But, a child that's homeless doesn't get to quit being homeless when they're tired of being homeless, so why should I get to quit walking when I'm tired of walking?
Well, good for you. And so what did you do? You came here to Washington, you've been talking to members of Congress. What else have you been doing?
Well, yesterday we walked our final mile, and we've been just, walking, and actually I spent 24 hours at the Sasha Bruce shelter and simulated being homeless for 24 hours. So, I did everything that they would. I would go to the group sessions, I would eat with them, and so that was a very interesting experience.
What have you learned from this?
I think one of the things that I've learned is that these kids are just regular kids. I mean, they are no different than anybody else. I mean, they dress the same way. I mean, they're just regular kids.
But they don't have any place to live.
Exactly. Just unfortunate events have fallen, and they've become homeless, and it's by no fault of their own.
Do you you go to school? What do you do about school? Because you've been You've been kind of on the road for about 4 months here, haven't you?
Well, for about 2 months on this walk. But I do an online school that's called K-12, and it's run through the public school system, but I do it all at home. But I have a state certified teacher and everything like that, and so it's pretty cool. Do you enjoy it? Has it been fun? Oh yeah, the walks and all my projects have been really fun. They're just great. But you have been doing kind of volunteer work and things like this for a long time, since you've been 4, 5, 6 years old. 6 years old. Yeah. What was your first project? Back in 2004 when Hurricane Charlie hit, I was raising food and water and supplies for the victims of Hurricane Charlie, because I just heard about it on the radio and decided that's what I wanted to do. And this was in your hometown? Yes. And where exactly do you live? I'm in Tampa, Florida. You live in Tampa. Right. So what do you plan to do now after this long walk? Well, we're thinking about doing a walk from Tampa to Los Angeles next summer. So we're still trying to work that out and see if it's even going to be possible. But we're going to try and work that out. And we're redoing 8 apartments here today. They get kids off the streets and then either into these apartments and then either into college or like a trade school or something like that. So we're going to repaint them and put new bedding and all kinds of stuff like that. Wow.
It's just amazing that you're going into 5th grade?
6.
6th grade. And you've been doing this since you were 6 years old, trying to help other people. What do you want to be when you grow up?
Well, I'd like to be a prosecuting attorney.
Really?
Yes.
So you're going to go to law school?
Yes.
Well, one thing's for sure, you have shown that you're not afraid of a little hard work and you're not afraid of a challenge. Anything in your immediate future, or are you going back to school when school starts? Or?
Right. I'll continue, of course, to do school. But we're also going to build a playground down in Tampa, Florida, for an emergency foster care shelter that is where, like, if the kids are taken out of their homes in, like, the middle of the night, that way they can come here, come to the project, and that way they can stay together with their siblings and don't have to be split up. So we're going to put in a new playground down there.
Zach Bonner, who's setting a good example for people of all ages with his walk to make people more aware of children who don't have any place to live. That's it for Washington Unplugged. Be sure and watch us on television Sunday when our guest will be the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, Patrick Leahy, and the ranking Republican, Jeff Sessions. We'll talk about the confirmation hearings opening Monday for Sonia Sotomayor.